Hi guys, Angela here to talk a bit about fear and how it affects your character in the story, changing their behavior, how they interact with the world, and placing a barrier between them and what they want most. This thesaurus can help you write your character's fear into the story. But first, let's look at why it happens in the first place. Fear is generated when there's a threat, real or perceived. In these moments, the brain activates, blasts us with adrenaline, and awakens our instinctual fight or flight response, whichever will help us navigate the danger we're in. In the case of real threats, well, they're never pleasant, and they can end up hurting us physically and emotionally. As an example, imagine a character driving home during a storm. The roads are slick, it's hard to see, and she's on edge, taking it slow. She comes around a blind corner and finds a car partially in her lane. Her heart starts to race, and she responds, swerving, but not enough to avoid the collision. In this situation, she obviously feels fear, watching the impending collision unfold, and she reacts, trying to turn away and avoid the accident. But even later, she'll carry fear with her. If she has to drive again in the rain, she'll remember what happened and her fear will rise up. Or if she's a passenger and someone else is driving and it's raining. She may even feel fear on a sunny day when she approaches a blind turn. That's the nature of fear. Once it's in place, all sorts of things can trigger it, and it'll shape the character's actions moving forward. She may even become so paralyzed by fear, she stops driving altogether, impacting her life day to day, hampering her goals, and eventually causing unhappiness and a lack of fulfillment. This thesaurus is loaded with different things a character might struggle with in your story. Rather than look at a fear of spiders, though, this database tackles deeper things that can be truly debilitating and keep your character from the things that they want most. Whatever keeps your character up at night, causes them to hold back in relationships, and mask their vulnerabilities, you'll find that fear here. Maybe it's the fear of failure, or the idea of commitment, or that they could be returned to an abusive situation that they've just escaped. Let's look at the fear of rejection, something I think that we've all felt at some point. This entry starts off with a note about this fear and how, taken to the extreme, it's detrimental to the character's happiness and growth and will keep them a prisoner in many ways. Next, we look at how this fear shapes a character's behaviors, thoughts, and tendencies so that you can make sure you're showing how this fear will disrupt their everyday life and decision making. A person who fears rejection might become a perfectionist or a people pleaser and try desperately to not do anything that might lead to rejection. They may become overly concerned with what they wear, say, and do, and give in to other people just to avoid friction. With fears, it's important to consider a character's internal struggles too, because this mental and emotional tug-of-war is what's really tearing them up in the story. Inner struggles reveal what they want most, but fears stand in the way of them having it. A character with a fear of rejection might yearn for connection and want to open up to people, but they're afraid of criticism or responses that will leave them feeling rejected. They may also struggle with loneliness or long to be in a healthy romantic relationship, but they just can't get the courage up to risk their heart. Because personality flaws, also called negative traits, are a form of emotional shielding characters deploy to try to keep people and situations at a distance to avoid being hurt again, we list possible flaws that might emerge in a character who has this fear. For example, a fear of rejection might cause someone to be insecure or timid or withdrawn. You can click on any of these links to read up more about that trait and how to show it. Your character's fear is going to cause problems, which just makes life harder. This fear might isolate your character and keep them from reaching out and making friends, or people might take advantage of them because of their desperate need for acceptance. Fears can also stem from mental health conditions and past negative experiences, so tracing the root cause will help you understand your character's fear better. Finding an unresolved emotional wound that ties to their fear of rejection will help you see the event that caused this fear, and you can show their journey to deal with what happened in a healthier way in the story. These are all emotional wounds from the thesaurus here at One Stop, so you can quickly explore different types of trauma that might fit your character's fear. Fears make characters hypersensitive to some places, people, and events, so we should think about what might be triggering for a character. In this case, the fear of rejection will be triggered in situations where they're chosen or not, like a job interview, team sport, or being part of a competition. Criticism will also be difficult, or if people cancel plans or don't include them. One of the biggest ways fear affects someone is through their basic human needs. For example, a character with a fear of rejection may struggle when it comes to relationships, which will affect their need for love and belonging. If they're always holding back, afraid of being rejected, it means they'll never have those loving, accepting relationships they need to be truly happy. A character who fears rejection will find some goals harder to achieve than others, so we've listed ideas from the Character Motivation Thesaurus. If you want your character to overcome their fear in the story, it can be good to give them a goal that stands in opposition, something they want so badly it'll give them the strength to push past their own fear to get it. Certain conflict scenarios will tie right into a specific fear, so when your character navigates them successfully, it'll increase their confidence. When they don't handle the situation well, it acts like a setback, and a story will need both to be realistic, so we've queued up possible conflict scenarios you might want to consider for the story. Ultimately, for a character to succeed, they need to do what must be done and move past their fear, achieving inner growth. They need to see how this fear is holding them back and want more for themselves, and understand that while they could be hurt again because the future is uncertain, they're also trying for something better and not letting fear keep them in a limiting bubble. Because your character's battle to overcome their deepest fears will be a large part of character arc, I encourage you to use the Character Builder, which shows you how all the pieces of character arc fit together, including the psychological aspects of fear. This will make plotting your story much easier. And if you'd like any additional help understanding character fears, you can just check out this tutorial at the top of the entry. Happy writing!